Hello everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to another live stream today. I'm so excited to hang out with you today and talk all things resume. I know that this is a topic that a lot of you have really wanted to learn more about. So today we are going to talk about how to write a killer resume. I'm going to share with you 3 easy steps. Now I know that there is a lot of you in the chat. If you guys can hear me, hit the like button down below this video. Also, tell us in the chat where you are coming to us from. It looks like we had a lot of fantastic professionals jump into the chat early to say hi. Sue, so happy that you could join us. Joan is here from Providence, Rhode Island. Anne, so happy you could be here. Susan is here. Beth is here. Linda, so happy you could join us. Linda, hope you're doing well. Robert is here from Nebraska. Catherine is here from UK. It looks like we have so many people in the house today from Boston, Massachusetts. Courtney's joining us. I want to say hi to all of you guys, but I know you also want to jump into the content. I have so much to cover with you today. I want to make sure you get your favorite pencil out, get your favorite notebook out. Maybe you take notes on your computer. That's fine too. We are going to cover 3 easy steps to help you write a killer resume. So again, if you have not said hi in the chat, make sure you jump into the chat. Make sure you also give this video a thumbs up so that I know that audio is coming through. Sometimes I hop live online and I'm not talking to anyone. So I want to know that you guys are here. Say hello in the chat. Let me know that all the good technical things are working. And yes, we are live. Make sure also you get questions in. So I'm going to be taking some time at the end to answer some questions. So get those into the chat early. And we are reviewing resumes. We had so many resumes submitted for this review show today. And I picked a few that I thought could kind of help everyone out. And in fact, the professionals that I picked for their resume are kind of all walks of life. I picked someone in the military. We have someone, a recent graduate. We have a professional that's been working for the last 20, 25 years. So we have so many good tips to share with you guys today. I'm going to jump right into slides. So if you know me, you know that I love to share slides. I also want to share with you guys a very special announcement. At the end of this, I'm going to tell you more about our Career Advancement Toolkit. We are running a 2-day flash sale for that. If you do not have the toolkit, I'll talk more about it as we go throughout this live stream. Now is the time to get it. This is going to be our last flash sale for the year. And I don't know when the next one's even going to pop up, but just know that Tori will pop a link for you in the chat. If you are also watching this for the replay, there will be a link for you down below as well. So let's jump right into slides here. Well, we're not on step 2 yet. Let me get to my slide 1. How to write a killer resume, 3 easy steps. We're also going to be doing resume reviews after this. And by the way, I'm going to ask you guys some questions. So make sure you're ready to go with your typing skills and being able to type into the chat. I believe you have to be logged into YouTube to be able to answer questions in the chat. So make sure you get logged in. I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions because I want to hear from you as well when it comes to writing a resume. So I want to know, first thing that I want to know from you is what one thing do you struggle with when it comes to writing a good resume? Now, notice I said good resume, so not just any old resume, but when you're writing your own resume and you know that you want it to be good, what one thing do you struggle with? So type that into the chat. And while you're typing that in, if we've never met before, my name is Heather Austin. Career strategy is my passion. You'll be able to tell by the way that I talk about resumes. Not many people have as much energy as I do talking about resumes. I'm a university professor turned entrepreneur. My number one goal here is to help you find your dream job so that you can grow in a field you love. Now, most of you have probably learned about me from YouTube. If you go to YouTube and you type how to write a resume, you're going to see a lot of my videos pop up at the very top to teach you how to write a resume. So we have helped hundreds of thousands of professionals write better resumes and help them land their dream job. So today, my plan is to help you do the exact same. So while you guys are typing in what your greatest problem is with writing a resume, let me kind of read some of those off. So Shelly says the profile summary. Yes, that's a big one. Miss Ray says the profile summary. Lillian says writing an objective. That's a big one. Summary. It looks like we have a lot of summary. Someone says describing my skills, quantifying successes. Oh, we're going to cover all of that today, plus much, much more. So let's jump into the first step when it comes to writing a resume, 3 easy steps. Okay, I'm just going to share with you 3 easy steps that you can take today and apply to your resume. So the very first step is to build a resume that is readable. So when I say readable, there's 2 parts to this. You need to build a resume that is ready for your human reader, okay? So a human being that's reading your resume, but you also need to make it ready for applicant tracking systems. So let's first talk about what you need to do for your human reader. So to make your resume human reader ready, you need to have clear, concise headings, okay? So this means you're telling them exactly what to look for and what's under each section. So we're talking about your work experience, your career highlights section, your education section, your volunteer experience, technical skills, all that good stuff. It needs to be clear and concise. The next thing to this is readable font style, okay? I want you to stay away from any of those fonts that are hard to read or gimmicky. I'm going to share 2 that I really like. I love Cambria. That's one that you could use, and you could also use Verdana. That's another one. I would also recommend, I don't love Times New Roman. I don't love Arial. I don't love some of those fonts that are just overused. I would pick something that's a little bit more classic, that's readable and not gimmicky, okay? The next step is, when it comes to the human reader ready resume, is I wouldn't go any smaller than a 10-point font, and I wouldn't go any larger than a 12-point. So I like to actually stick with an 11-point font, something straight in the middle. And if I need to adjust the size just a little bit, then I'll adjust it, but never go smaller or larger than a 10 or a 12-point font. Then we got to talk about your margins. So again, this is helping our reader glance at our resume and be enticed to keep reading. We don't want it hard for them to find our information. We want it easy and just action oriented. So I don't want you to go any smaller than a 0.5-inch font. And that's even margin. That's even kind of small. I still sometimes stay away from that. And I don't want you to go any larger than a 1-inch font, but you kind of have to play around with it to see how your contents fit on the resume. The next thing you have to do is you need to use bullet points and paragraphs. Now, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean when I review these resumes coming up here in a minute, how you can use bullet points and how you can use paragraphs. So you're going to be using a combination of both of these to keep your reader interested and to keep them engaged. And then the last part to this is send in PDF format unless they specify otherwise. You might get some employers that they want you to send it in a Word doc. That's totally fine. Send it in a Word doc. If they don't specify, send it in a PDF format, okay? Again, this is for your human reader. This is if I'm a person and I'm reading your resume as a human reader. Now let's talk really quick about applicant tracking system compliance. So now we're building the resume, not just for the human reader, but we also have to focus on when my resume gets sent through an applicant tracking system, what is going to get my resume through to that human reader, okay? So we don't want to have any columns or tables. And by the way, you guys, we received hundreds of resumes, and I base what I teach you based on what I'm getting from the resume. So if I see that we're getting a lot of resumes with columns or tables, I'm going to touch on these topics again because I think that they're super important, and I want to get the message out there that this is the proper way to write a professional resume. So again, no columns or tables when it comes to the applicant tracking system, no images, charts, or graphs. Now, keep in mind, guys, pop questions into the chat if you have any questions, because I'm going to answer those at the end. If you do not know what an applicant tracking system is, because I get that question a lot, it's a way that employers get your resume read super quickly to see if you fit up with the position, and they toss out resumes that don't pass through that system, and they send your resume through to, if it passes, they send it to a human reader. So someone that can take a closer look and make sure that you are a good fit for the position. So we don't want to have anything on there that will throw your resume out, okay? Next thing, use clear hierarchy. So again, I mentioned this with your human reader, but you need to have your heading, your section titles, you need to have all that stuff clearly defined on your resume in order for it to get through either your human reader and your applicant tracking system. The next thing is include keywords. So keywords are found in your job posting. These are specific to the posting and specific to the industry. And then the last part on this is upload in Word format. Okay, so applicant tracking systems have have an easier time reading Word documents than they do PDF documents. They are getting more sophisticated all the time, but what we have found is that you have a greater success of getting your resume read properly if you upload it in a Word format. Remember, human reader, PDF. If a computer system's going to read it, we want it in Word format. Now, I want to know from you, give me a yes or no in the chat below. Tell me if you currently have an applicant tracking system compliant resume. So give me a yes if you do. So you followed all these things that are up here on the screen, or if you don't, give me a no too, because we're going to make sure that we get that fixed. So comment in the chat yes or no, or if you're watching the replay, comment down below in the replay to let me know if you have an applicant tracking system compliant resume. Now, the second step here, this is before we jump into resume reviews, is you need to create engaging content, okay? So you need to put all of your awesomeness out there to the world, and you need to impress them and you need to wow them. And when I say them, I'm talking about your future employer. So let me share a few steps with you to help you do this. You want to start with a powerful pitch, okay? So the powerful pitch is the summary at the top that tells your future employer what you can do for them, not what you want out of the position. So we're not saying, I want X, Y, and Z. In fact, I saw a lot of that when I got these resume submissions this time. I'm seeing a lot of those objective statements. Objective statements are a thing of the past. We don't want objective statements. We want a professional summary where you're using 3 to 4 sentences to tell them what you can do for them. So we're going to explain who you are, who you help, how you help them. You're also going to talk about your background and your experience and how it's going to help that company solve a particular problem, okay? I know I'm talking fast and I know we're getting a lot of information out here. You guys can always listen to this on a replay, but I want you to know we want a summary at the top. That's going to be your powerful pitch. You're going to talk about your specialty, your expertise, all that good stuff, but you're focused on the company and how you can help them. And I'll show you examples in a second here. Next thing you're going to do is include your most important career highlights, okay? So this is going to go right after your summary. I want to know some of your greatest accomplishments. I want to know the projects that you've done, awards you've received, training that you've gotten, recognition, anything that your future employer needs to know about you to be able to get them to call you and invite you in for an interview, okay? So include your most important career highlights. The other part to developing engaging content is you need results-driven achievement statements. We have covered this time and time again on this channel. If you don't know what these are, you can go watch any of my other live streams about resume writing. We need a statement that tells us your results and tells us that task you completed, what was the result of that task, okay? And I'm going to give you guys clear examples when I look at these resumes in just a second here. And then emphasize your tech skills. I can't say this enough, but tech skills are one of those things that people kind of pass over really quickly. But let me tell you, it is becoming more and more important, especially with the times that we're living in, especially with more remote workers out there or companies hiring more remote positions. And for my seasoned workers, you have to show us that you can handle a computer. You have to show us you know all those fancy, awesome tech skills that are required to do video conferencing, project management, all that good stuff. So emphasize your tech skills. Now, the third step before I jump into these awesome resume reviews is tailor your resume to every position, okay? So your resume not only needs to be tailored to the industry that you're going into, but it needs to be tailored to every single position. So I'm going to show you how to quickly do this. You need to start with a professional template. Now I'm going to show you exactly where to get that professional template in just a second, but let me tell you, this is going to save you so much time, frustration, overwhelm. You need to start with something that's working, which is a professional template, and then you can fill in your information and go from there. Now let me show you after the template. You need to create your unique headline. Now, anyone that has attended my live streams before, that has used my templates, that has landed positions, they know what I mean by the unique headline. So at the very top, I'm going to show you an example of this at the very top of your resume. So the left-hand side here, that is the resume. At the very top, you have your unique headline, okay? Your unique headline is the name of the position that you are applying for or something similar, okay? It doesn't always have to match exactly. In fact, what I have found is sometimes people take this to almost the extreme literal, and they match it to the exact position title. And you can do that if it makes sense. But there's some cases where it's not going to make sense for you to match the exact position title. And in that case, you have to kind of rework your verbiage just a little bit and the words that you're using. So you're going to have tell us what position you're applying for, basically who you are. And then I want to see 3 key skills under that. Now, these 3 key skills are pulled directly from the job posting. So if this is Vice President of Sales position, I have revenue growth that I pulled right from the job posting, market penetration, and leadership training. Those were the 3 things that position needed in order to hire that person for Vice President of Sales. So again, I'm going to include those 3 key skills up there. And then I'm also going to have my summary. So I talked a little bit about a summary before. Again, this is going to be your pitch. This is your powerful pitch to tell them who you are, who you help, how you help them, how you're going to help the company solve some of their greatest problems, explain your background, your expertise, your specialty, all that good stuff. And then after that, include keywords and phrases. So I know I mentioned this when I talked about the applicant tracking system. We need to show them that you understand the company culture, that you understand the position, because if you go in and you send a generic resume that doesn't have anything to do with the position, you're not going to get an interview, because you got to think about all the people that are sending resumes in that have their resume tailored. They're the ones that are getting in the door for the interview. So make sure you include your keywords and your keyword phrases. And then highlight relevant experience, okay? So this is where I'm going to focus on my background and now pull out what are some of the things that I've done that I can make sure I include on my resume. Now, I meet with people all week, every day, about their resumes, interviews, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles, all that good stuff. And one of the things that we always go through is, what is your background and what is your expertise and how does that relate to the position? And sometimes I have some professionals that have to switch up a few bullet points in their work experience section to show that they've completed a certain task or that they've have some results in a certain area that relates to the position, okay? So now I want to know on a scale, actually, sorry, I'm not going to ask you the scale question yet. I want to know, before I ask you that, I want to know what's one thing, so based on what I shared with you today, what one thing can you do today to improve your resume? So based on the information that I shared with you, and you're going to get a whole lot of other fantastic tips as we go through these resume reviews in just a second here, but type into the chat what's one thing you can do to improve your resume today. So based on everything that I shared with you. Now, you're probably here today because you're discouraged by the lack of attention your resume is getting. Maybe you have a hard time pinpointing your strengths and highlighting your accomplishments. I know I get that question from you guys a lot. Maybe you've always landed jobs through word of mouth. This is one that I get a lot. Heather, I've always landed positions from my friends or my family members or from my network, and now I have to write a resume and actually get it out into the community and get it out into the world. And maybe you've even been laid off or furloughed because of what's happening right now, and you're just wondering what the next steps are. Now, what I shared with you guys today, just so you guys know, it's not magic. It's not it's not a secret. There's no hidden tools. What I've shared with you today are things that are working for my clients and my students right now. So let me share with you guys what happened with Peggy. Peggy landed a great job and she's enjoying it. So she says, after months of search and disappointments, I landed in a great job. I recently joined them and I'm thoroughly enjoying working for this organization. And this is what I love about what Peggy said. There is definitely light at the end of the tunnel, so never give up. Your awesome time is right around the corner. I loved when Peggy posted that message. And then here's what Nicole just recently posted. She scored her dream job. She says, I wanted to let you know that with your help, I scored my dream job. She says, I did not hear back from any jobs before I fixed my resume based off of your advice. If anyone's wondering if this actually works, take the time and fix your resume. It will work. And then here's what Erica said. Erica accepted a remote position as a technical writer. So how amazing is this? She says, I'm thrilled to let you know I've been offered and accepted a remote position as a technical writer. Today I received a package with all the equipment necessary to handle the job, the laptop, and 2 monitors. Now, here's the interesting thing about Erica's situation. She actually went into this interview and they lowballed her salary. So she was super afraid to go in and start negotiating and asking for more money. But she goes on to say, I'm thrilled. Do not be afraid to tell your concern about your fears of pay, because at the end of the day, she ended up getting more than what they initially offered her. So I want you guys to I want you to see and experience results just like these individuals, which is why I want to invite you today to join us inside of the Career Advancement Toolkit during our 2-day special holiday flash sale. So for 2 days, we're running a holiday flash sale for the Career Advancement Toolkit. Inside of the toolkit is an exclusive suite of resources. So you get templates, guides, instructions, examples, video lessons to help you secure your next job offer. It is your time to apply an interview with confidence. Now, let me share a few more success stories before I jump into these resume reviews. Candace landed a job during the ongoing pandemic. She says, I got a job. Thanks for your videos, templates. They were extremely helpful. I truly think they helped me land a job during the ongoing pandemic. Here's what happened with Terry. He landed a fabulous job offer, even though he had not searched for a new job in 10 years. So he says, your guidance helped me polish up my LinkedIn, rev up my resume, and helped me ace the interview to get a fabulous job offer for a position that I believe I will really enjoy. He says, this is 10 years out of the job search market. And then here's what happened with Emma. Emma landed a job in a new sector after being made redundant due to COVID. So she says, I start my new job in a new sector on the 2nd of November, which just passed. She says, thank you, Heather, for all of your amazing resources. I know they helped me communicate my career story, transferable skills, and experience more effectively. Now, let me show you guys really quickly what's inside of the toolkit. Dozens of done for you templates, bonus video lessons, my perfect cover letter how-to guide if you don't have that, my LinkedIn profile essentials starter pack, which is actually one of my favorite resources, especially if you're new to creating your LinkedIn profile, and then my ultimate guide to surviving your job search. And let me introduce this really quickly, the fast action bonus. And when we do this fast action bonus, these spots are gone before I even finish the live stream. But the first 10 people to grab the toolkit will receive a free cover letter workshop, okay? So this is 5 bonus video lessons where you'll learn how to use your cover letter as a mini sales presentation, okay? Now, all of the items and the resources and the trainings and the guides, everything inside of the Career Advancement Toolkit is worth more than $500, but you can grab the toolkit today for $67. So don't miss out. Start now and save $100 off the full price. You'll get access right away as soon as you sign up and enroll. All you have to do is go to professoraustin.com/live offer. Tori's popping the link into the chat. The link is also down below in the comments if you are watching this on the replay. Remember the fast action bonus. I want to share a few other success stories with you guys because I want to give you hope. I want to give you what you need to know that it's possible to land a new position, especially if you feel stuck right now. So Myra landed a new job and she continues to get traction. So here's what she said. She says, thanks to Professor Austin, her career toolkit, I've had so much more traction in my search. She says, not too many days ago, I accepted a new role. But here's the cool thing about what happened to Myra. She says, I found a voicemail left by another recruiter from a different company. It was one of her first choice companies. She says that recruiter wants to talk about her going into the new role. And she was wondering, can I now go pursue this other role, even though I have this dream job or this job already landed? Because the other role was for her dream job. So that's the type of situation you want to be in. Here's what happened with Amy. She switched careers and landed a new job. So again, we have another career switcher. She says, officially got the job. I got the offer last week. My first day is the 2nd week of November. I'm super excited. I'm doing a career change. I'm now a project manager. She says, woo, woo. And then she goes on to say, and the company has some amazing benefits. Here's what happened to Charlotte. She says, I'm gobsmacked how much of a difference the toolkit has made in my job search. She says, my job search is going so much more effectively now that I have worked through my resume, my LinkedIn profile, and now written a cover letter using her guidance. I'm gobsmacked how much of a difference it has made. Here's a few other stories. These are all people that have landed jobs. Amber, my first week at my new job is complete. Julia, just accepted the job. Michelle, I accepted the job offer today. Terry, I got a full-time job with benefits doing something I love. Here's another cool story. Tania, she actually applied to 9 positions, landed 6 interviews, and received 3 job offers. So she said, I'm finally employed again in an industry I love and know well. She says, after being put on temp leave and subsequently, that's a tongue twister, terminated July 2020 due to, you guys all know what. And she goes on to say, here's a summary of what happened after using the Career Advancement Toolkit. So she actually got 3 job offers. Now, you guys, I have hundreds of stories like this. I could go on and on forever. Here's what happened to Abraham. He landed his dream job after applying to hundreds of positions. I just want you guys to know that this tool works. It's not magic. It's not voodoo. It is a resource that helps job seekers. Remember, dozens of templates, bonus video lessons, my cover letter how-to guide, LinkedIn Profile Essential Starter Pack, and my ultimate guide to surviving your job search. Don't forget about the fast action bonus. The first 10 people to grab the toolkit will receive a free cover letter workshop, which with 5 bonus video lessons. We're going to learn how to use your cover letter as a mini sales presentation. Today, it's yours for $67. That's $100 off, full price. Flash sale will happen for 2 days. So make sure you grab it if you are interested in that resource and that offer. And let's jump into resume review. So you guys, we had so many resumes submitted to for this show today. And I tried to pick ones that could kind of get, kind of touch on almost everyone's situation, which I know you guys are all in different situations. And by the way, for those that I am reviewing your resume, I did send you guys an email. So hopefully you got it and hopefully you're ready for me to jump into this. So I'm going to put my glasses on because my eyes keep getting worse the older I get. And I'm going to jump into these reviews. I do want to also let you guys know we will have time for questions. So get those questions in to the chat. It looks like Jared says your advice is extremely helpful. So many. Awesome. I do have a couple of questions. Jared, we'll get to your question in a second. He says salary negotiation is tough. A lot of people are taking pay cuts. Yes. Any advice there? We'll touch on salary negotiation. By the way, Jared, don't be afraid to negotiate. There may be certain instances where you are a job seeker and you do have to kind of make a pivot. And I'm telling you, make the pivot temporary if you can until the dust settles with what's happening right now. And you may have to take a pay cut, but also don't look at it as I'm going to have to take a pay cut. Try not, that's going to be like the last resort. Okay. Awesome. Good. Questions, make sure you get them in. Let me kind of see where we are with that. Fantastic. Okay. Let me pull up these resumes. So these are good ones, you guys. And I'm going to even show you how I would revise some of their achievement statements on here. So let's go ahead and let's start with this first one. So this first one, let me see where we are with, I just want to remember, okay, so this actually comes from an individual who worked for the same company for 21 years, but the department was eliminated. Okay, she's actually talking about how she included the last position, but also wanted to include her prior position to let employers know that she has skills to support like upper level management type stuff. Okay, so here's the thing. And we're not sharing names. Everyone's information is anonymous, right? So let's just call this resume number 1. So for resume number 1, let me tell you what I do like about it. I do like that you have some good sections in here. Like I can clearly see your education and I can clearly see your skills and I can clearly see your experience, okay? I do like that you're using a tiny bit of color. So it's a dark green color. That's not, I don't think that's a problem. What we need to do though in this instance is we need a clear professional summary. Okay, so what you'll notice, you guys, in this example is that this person says secure a responsible career opportunity to yada, yada, yada. I want to know in the chat what's wrong with this. Does anyone know? So all of you guys that have been coming to my live streams, what is wrong? Oh, I know. Last time I had to okay, yeah, it's letting me highlight. Good. Do you guys see the highlight there? Okay. Let me know from anyone that has been coming to my live streams. Can any of you pinpoint what's wrong with this statement here? Does anyone know? Even if I have some professional resume writers, human resource people, career coaches, anyone else that can type into the chat, what do you think is wrong with this this sentence here? So she's saying secure a responsible career opportunity. Let's see. Beth says she needs to state who she is. Okay, yes, good. Okay, you guys are paying attention. I'm so glad to hear that. Jensen says an objective statement. Yes. Kenneth, hello. So happy that you're here. It's talking about what they want and not what you can do for them. Okay, you guys just made my day. Like, you made me so happy. I know you guys are listening. Okay, so this is an objective statement. We don't want an objective statement on the resume. We definitely got to get rid of this, and instead we need to put a professional summary. So to my resume number 1 person, look at what your peers are telling you in the chat, because they're telling you exactly what you need to do. You need to have a professional summary that talks about what you can do for a company, not what you want out of the position, okay? So that's first thing first. And then I would also make sure you get in there like your expertise and your specialties and a little bit more about you as your background, okay? Now, here's the other thing I'm going to recommend for this resume. You have quite a bit of work experience here. I would say to include a professional highlight section. So let me show you guys. This is the template inside of the toolkit. Let me show you what I mean by this. So at the very top, again, we want resume number 1. We want to know the position and 3 key skills from your resume, from the posting, okay? Then I want your summary, but then right after that, I want to see your highlights, because you have enough work experience that you can add the highlights section. And especially for you, because you said you have a prior position and you want to know that you're in your previous position that was probably years and years ago, you want to show them that you have the skills to support upper level executives. That's what you told me. So take some of that stuff from the bottom and like the most important parts now, and pop that up to the top in your highlights. Now, when it comes to highlights, you guys, you really only need 3 to 5 bullet points. I kind of like to go with, you know, this is 3, but they're going onto 2 lines. If you have like just 1 line of a bullet point here, if you can explain it in one sentence there or 1 line, you can go with 4 to 5 bullet points. Okay, so remember, there's not one right or wrong way to write a resume. Okay. So that's what I would do there. Let me go back to resume number 1. Okay, so we got to get kind of like your summary, get your experience, get your highlights in there. Now, let me talk about experience. So I do like that you're telling us exactly where you're working. I would not include dates from December 1998 to September 2020. I would not include that at the top there. I would have it very... because that's kind of dating the resume, by the way. I would have it, you know, where you have it, and you don't even have to have dates from. You're going to just have the actual date. So let me again show you on this, the summary, or on the toolkit. Notice how I'm writing my date and the format. That's how we want to see your date. This is the best for, can you guys see that? Let me just make sure. Yeah, okay. This is the best for applicant tracking systems, all that good stuff. Just give me a month, give me the year, and then if it's ended, give me that date as well, okay? So I would love to see you do that on your resume. I do like that you're capitalizing, though, professional development coordinator. I think that's good. So I think that works. But again, let's get the dates in the format that I just showed you. Now, there's one thing I want to show, because you have a lot of really good statements on here that you've started writing. Let me just I want you guys to all see this. So this is a really good one that I would have honed in on like that. And I would have said, okay, we need to add more to this. So you say assisted in planning of the department budget. Okay. Well, that doesn't really tell me like, you assisted in the department budget, but what happened because you assisted? I just need a little bit more detail, and I'm not going to go through all these bullet points because I want to get to these other resumes, but what I want everyone to pay attention to is this is a good start to an achievement statement, okay? But we need to get it even give me some more detail. So what was the result of that? So here's one way you could work this. You could say, instead of assisted in planning of the department budget, you could say something like worked closely with leadership team to plan department budgets, decreasing expenses by 20% or decreasing expenses by 15%. So do you guys see, let me read that again. Worked closely with leadership team to plan department budgets, decreasing expenses by 20%. And you could even start with decreased expenses by 20% by yada, 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 by assisting, or working closely with leadership team to plan and department budgets, okay? Keep in mind, you always want to try and get the results in there. Now, you also might say, well, where'd you get that 20%? That's an estimation, and that's okay if you put estimations in there, okay? A lot of times people skip through these little details and they don't even give us an estimation. Just give us an estimation. And it doesn't you're not going to be like, I decreased expenses by 60%. Like, stay within reason, right? But give us an estimate. So that's what I would recommend for this resume. I want to see you go through each of these bullet points and do that. You have some really good numbers in here on some of this. So I think that's good, but let's just get a little bit more detailed. So for example, you said coordinated and scheduled meetings. Because you do that, what does that do? Like, when you coordinate and schedule meetings, does that increase, team productivity? Does it, it allows all the executives to get to their appointments on time, whatever that is, like, you're increasing productivity in some way just by doing that. We got to get that in there into that statement. Okay. Then on the skills section, what I would do here is, again, I'm going to jump back to this template because it is like this thing is, if you want to save yourself time, you've got to get your hands on this because it will streamline this entire process for you. So notice on the education here, I want to see the university or the school, and then I want to see closely under that. Let me see if you guys can see that. Oh, you can barely see it. I want to see, let me see, hang on. I'm going to see if I can go down just a little bit. Oh, okay. It's not letting me. Let me zoom in. I just want you guys to see the very bottom part of this template because, okay, there you can see a little bit more. So, and then I want to see the degree and then the date. Okay. Now below this is a technical skills section, and I would love to see you, resume number 1, get your technical skills section on your resume. So I don't think, oh yeah, you guys can see that. So where she has skills, I want it to be technical skills, and I want you to talk about, I do like that you have computer software and application knowledge and you're giving us that. But like, do you have any project management skills? What about video conferencing? Think about some of the skills that you need right now in today's job market, okay? And I want to see those on your resume. But overall, such a good start. I highly recommend grabbing the toolkit so that you can get everything kind of squared away there. Okay. I want to know, give me a yes, you guys, in the chat if that was helpful for you. I have Chris Kringle next, his resume. I think it's a he, or it could be a she, who knows. But Chris Kringle's resume is coming up next. And if you guys, if this is helpful, give me a yes, type a yes in the chat because I want to know, like, if you're learning from these reviews. Okay, let's jump into this. So Chris Kringle, here we go with Chris Kringle. I'm going to move this screen just a little bit over here. So here's what I like about Chris Kringle. I can clearly, again, see all of the good headlines. Okay, so again, I can see the summary of qualifications, professional experience, education, and training. Chris is also stuck with a one-page resume. So I'm gonna give Chris a little bit of some ideas here. Now, when Chris submitted his resume, he says that he has not been on an interview in 23 years, okay? So he's freaking out. He says he's looking for some general feedback because he just hasn't updated his resume in quite a while. So here's what I'm going to recommend, Chris. Again, follow closely the template from the toolkit. And what I think you can do, Chris, is I think you could easily, because you have so much experience, you could easily have your headline and your summary, and you can easily have a really nice highlight section. So you could choose, Chris, when I'm recommending resume reviews with people, I always recommend, if you have more than if you have 5 to 7 years of work experience, you can go to a 2-page resume. You don't need to keep it all on a 1-page resume. So that's what I'd recommend for you. And getting a highlight section in there will help you fill in that space a little bit better. Okay. The other thing, you say 23 years working in IT. I want you to remove that statement because that's also going to date you. Now, if you look at the professional resume, how I start the summary here is I say reliable, energetic, and resourceful. So here's what you would say: reliable, and you're not going to use these same words. You're going to pick words specifically to your industry, but reliable, energetic, and resourceful, information technology professional, or IT professional, or software engineer, or software developer, or whatever that title is. And in this example, I do say with over 15 years of experience, but you don't need to include with over yada, yada, yada years of experience, because that does sometimes lead to age discrimination, and you have to be really careful of that. Okay. So you could almost say with an expertise in whatever your expertise is. Okay. So let's go back to that. I think you can rework this into that, like a nice little summary. Then I would love to see you after that include your professional highlights. So I want to see, like, what are some of your greatest accomplishments, your biggest projects that you've worked on? What are things that, if I were to sit down with you and we were going to have some coffee together or go to lunch or whatever, and I were to say, hey, Chris, tell me, like, what are some of the coolest things you've done in your career? Like, of course, your professional experience. And I want to know from you what that is. And I want to see that in your resume in the professional highlight section. Okay. Now, you guys, and this might apply for a lot of you, because I did get a lot of submissions this time from individuals that haven't done their resume in a really long time. And it could be with everything that's happening right now that you are furloughed, laid off, whatever the situation is. This is Chris's experience, is that I believe he's been in this same company for 23 years. Chris, what I would love to see you do, even though you've been with the same company for as long as you have, I would love to see you break up your experience section and show your career advancement. Okay, so like, were you always a senior developer, or did you start out as a junior developer? Then did you work your way to a senior developer? I would love to see you break these out, because I'm assuming over that 23 years in this one company, you kind of switched titles or maybe even job duties. Like you've probably haven't been in that same position. What I would love to see is break it up into like developer, junior developer, senior developer. Okay. At least if you can get it into 3 different sections to kind of expand your resume just a little bit more. So I'd highly recommend doing that. The other thing, there's one thing this is what I wanted to point out. And this is for all of my folks out there, that you have these accomplishment statements. Okay. But they're not, sorry, I'm trying to highlight just this one, but they're kind of like run on, like it gives us too much. Like we got to get it kind of condensed. So I want you guys to look at this one. He says prepared client and server support deployment packages for pre-prod and production releases, which typically yada, yada, yada. Okay, I'm already lost, okay? Like, I'm already like, oh crap, what did that even say? And I'm trying to read on to the next one. So this is what I would love to see you. In fact, I'm going to pop this into the chat, you guys, especially if Chris Kringle's here. What you guys see here that I have highlighted, I would love to see it say something like this instead. Prepared client and server software deployment packages for pre-prod, sorry, I keep saying that wrong, and production releases quarterly, increasing team productivity by 15%. Okay, that to me is so much more streamlined than what I see right here. Like, this is confusing to me. And I know that you're trying to get it all in, but I want to see like a nice action verb with a really nice task, and then a really nice result, okay? Or switch up the result and switch up the task. But we got to condense these a little bit. I think your experience is fantastic. It's wonderful. We just want it to be super snappy, readable. We want to get our point across quickly because guess what? These recruiters and these hiring officials, they are reviewing so many resumes and they're trying to work through the system as quickly as possible and yada, yada, yada. You got to catch their attention fast, okay? So again, break up this. If you can, break this up and show like a progression with different titles in that same company. And then give us get a little bit more clear on these statements, okay? So what I popped into the chat, hopefully you can see that. Chris Kringle, if you're watching this on the replay and you can't see what I popped into the chat, go ahead and email me and I'll give you that recommendation. And then do the same for all the other bullet points here. Let's see. Okay, in education, I think it's fine. I want to include GPA. The only time I tell you guys, I don't think you guys can see his, you can't see the rest of his resume here, but he is including GPA on here. I'm going to see if I can zoom in really close and get so you guys can see it. You still can't. Okay, one more zoom. You can kind of see it now. Let me just scroll to the side. Yep, you still can't see it. Sorry. My screen reader is not reading the whole resume very well. But at the very bottom, he has his GPA included with his education. I would not include that. I only include that if you are a recent grad. And even then, I'm a little bit iffy about including it. What I would do also is I would format it very similar to what you see here in the toolkit. So notice I have the dates snugged up, the name of the school, the degree, and all that good stuff. Okay, awesome. Good job, you guys. Okay, let's go to, we have a couple more resumes. Let's go to resume number 3. Now, I want to know in the chat, you guys, tell me in the chat, what is, what's like your biggest takeaway so far today? So I gave you 3 easy tips that you can use. We're in the middle of the resume reviews. I have a couple more resumes to go through. You could share one of the tips that you liked, or you can even look at what I shared with these resumes. What is one of your biggest takeaways so far today? Let me also show you this screen too. Really quickly, so you guys get an understanding of what's inside the toolkit. So again, this is, if you go to the link that Tori shared in the chat, or it's also inside of the comment section down below. If you go to that link, you'll be able to review this whole page. These are just some of the templates. So I'm adding templates quite frequently to the toolkit, but you've got your cover letter, resume template, application follow-up template, your in-person interview email template, if you haven't heard back after a week, job rejection follow-up template, like all of this is done for you. So all you have to do is go in and fill in your information. If you have an interview or a phone or a video interview, you have a template for that. Reference sheet. Like, I don't know anywhere on the web where you can grab a resource like this for the investment that it is. Like, I don't know anywhere else out there. When I was putting this together, I was like, if I was a job seeker, what do I need? What would I need right now to get started and to eliminate all the craziness that goes into job seeking? This is it. So this is like the least expensive route to get there, okay? And the resources in it are amazing. I shared with you guys the testimonials from so many professionals that have used the toolkit, and I get emails like this every single day from people, and I'm just delighted that it works. And I change it based on what's working right now. So if it stops working, let me tell you, I'm going to give you a different resource. I'm going to improve it and make it even better so that it works for you. Okay, let's go to this individual. So she actually went in, which is amazing, and she adjusted. Sorry, I gotta pull that back. I know the screen's kind of jumping around a little bit there. She gave us all fictitious information. So let me tell you, and her fictitious name is Sophia. So Sophia's a recent graduate. She's been applying for jobs in higher education and research. She says, I'm super discouraged. Since I've been updating my LinkedIn and my resume, she's not getting job interviews like her peers. Okay, so let's go in And let's talk about what Sophia can do to kind of improve her resume. So first of all, Sophia, I think you're okay to stick with a 1-page if you are a recent grad. Now, if I go back, it looks like you're listing August 2017 as one of your first positions. You guys can't see that, but that's at the very bottom. I think, Sophia, what's happening here is you're giving us too much information in a small space. So you either need to eliminate a bunch of what we have here, or Sophia, you need to go to like a 2-page resume, okay? Because it's too condensed, and it's really hard to read because there's so much information on here. I don't really know where to go. I'm confused. I'm like, what should I read first? What should I read last? Even though I do love how you have your name at the top, that's fantastic. You have a summary, your education, all the sections are very clear and easy to read. But I would like to see you either go to a 2-page and kind of space out this information, or stick with the 1-page and eliminate it. So here's the other thing that I'm going to just start from the top. So she says, let me zoom in here a little bit so you guys can see this better. She says, experienced licensed social worker, researcher, and diversity, equity, and inclusion program coordinator in yada, yada, yada. Okay. Here's the thing. I want to get some really good words in here that describe program coordinator, and maybe it's inclusion program coordinator, or I'm not sure the exact title. And that's where I'm a little bit confused by what position or what positions you're applying for. So again, if I look at the template really quick here that's inside the toolkit, notice how I have a really clear title and I have some really clear keywords. And then notice I have that I know this person is reliable, energetic, and resourceful. You've started doing that by giving us the word experienced, but at the same time, experienced is such an overused word. So when you're explaining yourself as a licensed social worker, or whatever, like, because you're also saying researcher, diversity, equity, and inclusion program coordinator, I guess I'm just confused by what is it that you are, like, what position are you going for? I want to see that at the very top, and I want to see you include some of those personality traits, some of the skill set of that person, okay? I think you can use this first sentence and just rework it a little bit. And then you go on to say skilled and yada, 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 which I think is great. Skilled in using Microsoft Office, Qualtrics, and IBM, statistics to compile. I don't know if IBM, SPSS. I'm not sure if the word statistics needs to be capitalized, unless that's the title of a tool, then it could be. But I think you have some, like you're talking about Canva, you're talking about promoting large scale events on social media. You have some really good keywords in here. I kind of just want to see more of like that first sentence kind of cleared up a little bit. You're okay to list education first. I don't recommend education first unless you're a recent grad, okay? Because you don't, if you're like, most employers want to know what you're doing right now. And most of them are curious about your work experience because you're going to learn a lot on the job, and you've learned a lot through work experience. And hey, me coming from the university background that I did, when I got my first job, I was like, well, my first real job, right? I think I was 22 or 21 right out of college. And I was like, what? This is work? People do this? People go to jobs every day? And I learned so much my first couple of years. I'm like, why did they teach me this in college? Like, there's so much I didn't learn. But I do think that listing education first is valuable if you are a recent grad. So I don't think that's bad. I would like to see it cleaned up just a little bit. So again, I've got to jump back over here, and I would love to see the education section very similar to what you see in the toolkit, okay? And you can list, because you are a recent grad, I do like that you're listing, your some other things that you're a part of. And you do have your GPA, which it's not bad. I think that's great to list. You have a 4.0 GPA. I think that's okay to have that in there. As you go throughout your work experience, though, Sophia, you're going to notice you'll start to drop some of that information. Okay, you're not going to need it in a couple years, or 3 to 5 years from now. Okay, and I think the other thing that's kind of throwing me is this underline on the professional summary and education. I like that it's all capped, okay, but What I would love to see instead is almost like if you look at the toolkit template, I have an underline under each section. So it's not just the word that's underlined. It's just a horizontal line that I've placed. I would almost like to see that in yours, just so that it's breaking up the sections a little bit better. And I could be thinking that because there's so much on here and I just need clear sections. I need it to be able to read it clearly. I do like that you're capitalizing titles and stuff like that. I think that's fantastic. I do like that you're using bold and bullet points really, really well. Hey, here's another thing that I really like, and you guys will notice this is in the toolkit template as well. She's giving us a little bit of information about the position. So this is where you can list information about the position, and you can list information about your role, like your general overall objective in that role, or kind of like your key skills in that role. I like that. I think that's fantastic. Let me just see what else was I going to talk about on this one. I do like also that you're giving us some good, you're talking, anytime you guys can get numbers in there, like notice she says videos for 10 diversity workshops. I love that. The more you can get those numbers in, like, did you manage a group of people? How many people did you manage? Did you work with a certain amount of teams? How many teams did you, like, anytime you can get those numbers in, employers love that. So I would definitely make sure you look at getting more numbers in there. Also on your dates, this isn't a bad format. This isn't a bad format, but I would love to see it, very similar to what we have here again in the toolkit. And I have the toolkit up here, you guys. I'm a very visual person. Most of you know that who attend my live streams. So anytime I can show you, do this rather than trying to explain it, it's so much easier for me. And also then you have an idea of what it's supposed to look like. Okay, I just want to read through, let's see, advised and debriefed with honors. I'm reading this first. College diversity, peer educators, mentors, and residents in facilitating. Okay, this is good. Here's the one thing, Sophia, that I've noticed that you're doing really, really well here, which this is the hardest part to writing a resume, is you're doing really well with giving us your action statements or your achievable results-driven achievement statements, okay? This is great. I think what we need to do here, if we're thinking about this is not getting you interviews, I think if you make just a few formatting changes to this, because the actual content is pretty good. We just need it to be a little bit more readable, okay? And I'm sure there's a few little things we could look at in here, but overall, let's find out what that position is that you're applying for, and let's get really clear at the top in that summary section, because the content's pretty good. I'm confused at what is it that you are. Are you a social worker? Are you a program coordinator? Are you working as a researcher? Like, let's just get specific on that, okay? Overall, fantastic job though. Okay, let's jump into our resume number 4. And again, you guys get questions in if you have them. I know that we probably have quite a few questions, and I'll select a few. I know Jared, you popped in with a couple questions. We've got a few mics in here with questions. Linda has a question. So I'm gonna answer those in just a second here. But let's look at this resume. Okay. So this is from my military friend, and I wanted to get in here because I know I get a lot of military folks that email me and say, help, I'm transitioning out of the Army. What should I do? So this individual is transitioning out of the Army and wants to make his resume pop. He wants to go into jobs in the emergency medical field, okay? So he's like, I can take all forms of criticism. That's what he told me. So I'm going to give all forms of criticism. Just kidding. I'm actually really nice when I do these reviews. Okay, so this is John Doe. And John Doe has a really good start here. Now, John Doe is actually using a free resume template that I also offer. Let me give you guys the difference between the free and the template inside the toolkit. So the free template is just a quick starting point. It's just a quick resume where you can kind of fill in your information. And this, John, you've done a fantastic job with this so far. So I'm going to go through and critique a little bit of that. The toolkit template is a professional resume template. So this is where you have more sections on your resume. Your resume is probably going to be a little bit longer. I give you a little bit more details and examples inside that resume. And then plus the toolkit also has cover letter, LinkedIn, job search guidance, that kind of stuff. But so this one, here's one thing I would do, John. I actually would pull up your top margin just a tiny bit. I do also want to see, let's see, you have your name. And by the way, you guys, at the top of your resume, if you do not have your LinkedIn URL on there, get it on there, okay? So you don't have to put your entire mailing address, your street address. You can put a city and a state and your zip code if you wanted, and then your phone number, your email address, and then your LinkedIn profile, okay? Now, John, what I would do here, military emergency medical tech. I would love to see the word tech spelled out. Let me zoom in so you guys can see that a little bit better. And then I need some space here. So notice you have that is right up next to the emergency medical tech title. I need some space between your name and your contact information. So again, notice how nice this space is. It's showing me a clear break of information. Okay, so I want to see you do that with yours. I also want to see military emergency medical tech capitalized. The other thing I want to see here is, I would love to know from you, John, is that the title of the position? If that's the title of the position, that's perfect. Let's keep it there. And is it military? Because you said transitioning out of the military. And is it just emergency medical technician? Think about that. I would also love to see these capitalized. And I would also love to see, you're saying critical thinking, excellent patient relationship, complex problem solving. Are these the 3 key skills that someone in the emergency medical field needs? And like, if not, I would get the 3 key skills needed and I would pop those in there. And I want to see that capitalized. Now, this is directly from the template, reliable, energetic, and resourceful, military veteran. I would actually say, okay, well, let me attack this first sentence first. And I shouldn't say attack. Let me address it, okay? So what I would do here is I would make sure the reliable, energetic, and resourceful, that whatever those words are that you're using, that those are the words that a medical tech needs. Like, that's describing a medical tech in action. Reliable, energetic, and resourceful, I don't know if those words are, okay? In fact, I don't think they are. I would get the words that really describe that position, and I would put those in there. Then you have military veteran. In terms of veteran, I don't know if I would list that. I would almost say, is there another term for emergency medical tech? Because what I would almost say here, it would almost be emergency medical professional, okay? So I would almost love to see this change to emergency medical professional with over 3 years of experience caring for. See, the rest of this is awesome. And I can tell, like, this is why these templates that I offer you guys are so awesome, because you just kind of like fill in your own information. So he says ability to provide speedy and effective patient treatments under this is so perfect. Like, the rest of this is actually really good. You have some really good high pressure keywords. That's what I'm trying to get out. You have some really good keywords, high pressure, operational, clinical settings. Like, this is amazing. I probably couldn't have written this better myself. Let's just fix this top part, okay? And get the real words that are really for an emergency medical technician. And I would almost say emergency medical professional and not veteran, and bold that. You can actually bold that. Okay, awesome. Yeah, dates are fine. If you wanted to, be a little bit more up to date. I know in my template, I probably have the dates written exactly how you have it. I would just do the number format. U.S. Army, so good. You could even capitalize evacuation team member. I think that's good. I love that you have your paragraph here. So you're saying responsible for managing 2 team members in the care and evacuation of patients. So good. Like, this is pretty well written. I'm super impressed, Mr. John Doe. Okay, the only other thing I would recommend here when it comes to your resume is, let's see if with each of these bullet points, as you're going through the bullet points, let's see how much more you can quantify this, okay? How much more can you tell us your result, okay? So for example, you say maintain the vehicle and all supplies and equipment inside. That's your task, okay? You're giving us your action verb, which is maintain, and then you're giving us the task, which is the vehicle and all supplies and equipment inside. So what is that? What's the result of you doing that? Okay, think about the result and tack that on to the very end. So is the result that, and I know I keep going back to operations are running smoothly. Is the result that patients get better care? Is it like, what's the result of you doing that? And we need to put that in there. Now, this applies to everyone because I know all of you guys probably do this. You give us the task and you give us you give us the action verb and you give us the task, but we don't know what the result of you doing that was. I want you to go through every single bullet point and try your very darndest to get that result in there, okay? Because I want to know at the end of the day, if I'm hiring you for a position, what are you capable of doing? And what are some of the results you've achieved in the past? Okay, so I would go through all that. I think the rest of that's good. Education. Here's the other thing, guys. Notice here, he has listed as education, which I think is fantastic. And you don't even need to say the word obtained. I would just, or graduated, like, for example, in the template, what do we say here? We just list the date. You don't need to say obtained, graduated, any of that. Just list the date, and we know that that's when you graduated. If you have not yet graduated, you'd say expected graduation and then list the date. But over back to your resume, notice you guys, the education section is on 2 pages. We never want to split a section, and we never want to split, like, if you have job B and that's listed there and you have a couple bullet points about job B on page 1, you never want a couple bullet points about job B on page 2. You have to keep all the sections together, okay? So I would highly recommend, you either need to, you could increase the space above where you have John Doe, the top, work on your margins there, but get education all the way up to that first page, unless you want to expand more in some of these other positions and then pull education down. That's going to make it go onto the second page. Okay, professional skills, good. I love that you have that in there. You have volunteer experience and you have awards and honors. Okay, here's the other thing. I know you've done pretty good trying to fill out this second page. Is there anything else? And here's the thing. If you can add some more content up here at the very top of your resume, that's going to push education down and that's going to fill in that second page a little bit better. So I'm not a big fan of a 1.5 page resume. I either want to see a 1 or a 2 page resume. I know it sounds weird, but it's like how we work as humans. It's like things have to kind of like, I want a 1 or a 2, okay? Full page. If you can push your education section down, that's gonna give you that second page. And if there's anything else you can add to the bottom of the second page, I would add that. Like, I know you're including your awards and honors, your volunteer experience, professional skills is good. That's going to be a stretch because, again, we want to know mostly what your experience is. So I would add a little bit more to that. Even if you have to put a bullet point for each item, or even if you have to extend these bullet points into more than one line and you're giving us some really good, for example, notice here on the Toolkit template, these bullet points are like on 2 lines, and that's okay. Like, that's totally fine. Okay, that's kind of how we'd want to write it. And some of them, aren't on 2 lines. You haven't effectively managed approximately 100 incoming calls daily. That's just on 1 line, okay? And that's okay too. Okay, I wonder if there's anything else on here. I think overall, you've done fantastic with the content. You've done fantastic using the free template that we offer. We just need to beef it up just a little bit and also use some of those recommendations that I mentioned. So again, you guys remember, I'm going to jump into questions here in just a second. Remember that inside the toolkit, you actually get a couple different versions of a resume to choose from. You also get all of your, let me pop this up really quick. You also get all of your, basically your interview follow-up templates. So these are templates that you might use, to follow up after a phone interview. Maybe you haven't heard back. Maybe you even, actually it was a position that you loved and they told you, hey, we're not going to hire you. We're hiring someone else. I have a template in here that will help you write a note back to them to say, well, hey, I think that's great. You like this other person, but I still think I'm a good fit, and keeping the doors open for them. So again, you have all those templates and resources inside the toolkit to help you get started, especially with the new year around the corner. Stop wasting time doing things that aren't working. This will streamline the process for you. So I'm going to jump into questions really quick. And I know you guys have been in the chat. If you're still here, I also want to know, so we reviewed the last final 2 resumes. I also want to know your biggest takeaway. And if you haven't yet shared your biggest takeaway, make sure you pop that in. I really want to know what you're learning from this whole process. And if you think you can, not if you think, but I know you can write a better resume. And in fact, I would love to know, what are you going to do today to make your resume better? So give me one of those. Give me either what you're going to do today to make your resume better. And then I also want to know what your biggest takeaway is if you have not yet answered that. I'm going to take a quick drink really quick. Okay, Beth asked a question earlier. She says, I've seen on LinkedIn that we should include a photo on the resume. I have never heard of this before. What do you recommend? Okay, so Beth, this depends on where you live in the world, but I think you said that you live in the UK. You do not want a photo on your resume. Canada, the United States, we do not like photos. I get friends that are like, Heather, can you read my resume? And I'm like, sure, send it over, my best friends. And they have a photo. I'm like, why is your picture on your resume? I'm like, come on. I'm like, why don't you come to a live stream of mine? And then you'll learn how to write a better resume. So no photos, okay? But I do work with people from all over the world, and it depends on your country. Like France, they like photos. So you got to research your country that you live in and where you live. Do they want a photo? Yes, some countries do, but UK, US, Canada, no. Good question. Catherine says, I have both my landline and mobile cell phone on my CV. Is this okay, or is just one needed? Yep, I would only put mobile. Good question. Beth, how do you know which way it will read, either human or ATS? I would build your resume for both because you don't know. So if you're meeting with a recruiter one-on-one and you've been talking to the recruiter for a while, or maybe you have networked your way, which again is the best way to get a new job, and you're working with a person on the inside or a friend, and they're like, hey, send me your resume, get it in the PDF format. However, what I taught you here today will help you build that resume so that it's both ATS and human reader compliant. Good question. Mike says, I've seen different options on using a template for a resume. So say no, others yes. What do you think? I'm not sure what your question is, Mike. Let me just tell you really quickly about templates. There is not one way to write a resume. There's not one hard and fast rule when it comes to that. Every resume is going to be specific to the person writing it. However, what I shared with you today are principles and guidelines that are working for my clients and my students and my community right now in resume writing. This is not stuff that I just made up. This is stuff that I work with other career coaches, professional resume writers, recruiters to develop these templates that work. So it's not just something I decided to come up with and invented. It's kind of like a collaboration. So when you find other templates out there, If that other template's working for you, great. You don't need a new template. Like if you're getting interviews, keep with what you have. If you're not landing the job, then that's a question of what's happening in the interview. Okay. If you're not landing the interview, then you need to either switch up your resume strategy, push harder with your network, find out what other things might not be working. Good question though. Okay, Jared, yes, this is your question about salary negotiation and how a lot of people are taking pay cuts. Let me see, there was another question you asked. Let me answer this first question. When it comes to salary negotiation, there's so many ways to slice and dice this, okay? There's so many ways you could approach your salary. The last thing I want you to do is go in to take a pay cut. Now, I do get what's happening right now, and I do understand that you may need to make a pivot or you may need to take a pay cut temporarily, and that's okay. And you need to also say, okay, this is okay for now, but as things, and who knows, no one knows what the future holds. No one knows what companies are going to bounce back, what companies are never going to bounce back, what positions are going to be in high demand. Well, we kind of have like our finger on that a little bit, but there's so many unknowns that I would say do your best to negotiate the salary that you're happy with and then go from there. And if you have to take a pay cut, keep your eyes set on the future and when you're going to be able to come out from that. And because for some of you, a job is better than no job. Okay. And you have to think through that as well. So it's totally like a personal preference, but I would always say, don't be afraid to negotiate. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Awesome. So Jared also says, if you plan to be out of town before the end of the year, when's really the best time to apply? So I would keep your pulse on, Jared, I would keep checking job boards. If you're out of town, don't make that an excuse to say, I'm taking time off and I'm not even going to look to see what's going on. Like I would still actively search, like while you're laying in bed at night or, while you're watching Netflix or something, like actively search and network with people. You could even be like sending LinkedIn messages to your friends and colleagues and like don't ever stop that job search, but keep your pulse on. If something pops up next week, which, chances of that happening are kind of low right now. Well, actually, that's not true. We're getting, people are getting hired all the time. So if something pops up and you're like, oh, I really want to apply for this position, get your stuff ready and get your resume in. I wouldn't stop because you're going to be out of town unless you just have no time at all. But most of us have time to do that. You just got to make the time. Okay, I'm going to pick a couple more. Okay, Natasha, hello. So glad you're here. Natasha says, due to the years of employment for resume number 1, what are acceptable number of pages? Let me look at resume 1. I think a 2-page. So if you guys remember, let me pop this up for you so that you can see. Resume number 1, totally a 2-page. Yes, because notice that she's stating December 1998. Now that position is like, there might be some positions here. Like for example, let me show you what you would do if your position is a long time ago and you just don't want to go into detail. Notice in this template here in the toolkit, I'm showing you exactly how to do that. So you're going to list company ABC, you're going to list the dates of employment, and then you're going to list the title and the location, okay? That's if the position relates to what you're applying to, but it's long ago. So normally you're not going to go back any more than 10 to 15 years, okay, when it comes to your work experience. But you could use this method that I have highlighted here up on the screen to actually to list those older positions. Good question. Okay, I'm going to pick a couple more here. Let's see. Lillian, hello. So glad you're here. Lillian says, if you upload your resume to Indeed or Monster, should we upload a Word document? So Lillian, I would this is where you have to be really careful about what they're asking for. So if in the posting they want like a PDF, you're always going to give them a PDF. If they want Word, you're always going to give them Word. Word, if you have a Word resume, it makes it so much easier for the applicant tracking system to scan and to sort through and to keep all your information in order. That's why we say don't use tables, don't use columns, because when the applicant tracking system scans that resume, it like jumbles it all up. So it might put like your skills section above your work experience section, and really you're trying to make it as easy as possible for that ATS to get an understanding of who you are so that they can say, yes, this person has the qualifications. Let's put them through to that human person, right? And then when the human person gets it, they want to be able to glance through it nicely and know who you are, what you do, how you're going to help them, basically. So I would actually recommend uploading in Word unless there's specific instructions to do otherwise. Now, keep in mind also, you guys, technology moves so fast. We're advancing so quickly, and these applicant tracking systems also advance. So they're getting better at reading your resume. They're getting better at, if you upload it in a PDF, they can read through it. They're getting better at that, okay? A lot of times too on these job boards, it wants you to copy and paste your resume just into the block that it gives. That allows their applicant tracking system, again, to be able to read through it quickly. So be mindful of all of that. And at the end of the day, you guys, this is probably the most important thing I'm going to share with you. You need to focus on your network. Okay. So Lillian, what I would love the questions that you're asking me more would be like, who am I going to send my resume to? Like what person, what colleague am I going to start reaching out to? These online job boards are great for research purposes, but the more time you spend there, the more frustrated and overwhelmed and discouraged you're going to be. So I want you to be focused on LinkedIn. I want you to be focused on your network, and I want you to be spending that time you have in those places. Okay. Good questions though, you guys, so many good questions. Let's see. Okay, Vicky has a really good question. Should I list my university education if I dropped out of uni and didn't finish my degree? Yes, I think it's okay to list your education. You're not going to put an expected graduation, a graduation date. But what you could do is you could say right under that, courses included or coursework included, or something about, your classwork, like what you learned in the classroom. If it relates to the position, I'm a big proponent still, you guys, of education. I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh, like even my husband sometimes is like, I don't even know if our kids are going to go to university. I'm like, what? Are you crazy? and it seems like so many people are like taking that approach, but I'm still a big proponent. Even if you complete a little bit of education, I think you should have it on there. If not, complete all of it, because it's such a huge confidence builder. Even though, you guys, I'm not saying university is perfect. In fact, I know it's broken. I know there's so much of it that you don't learn real world skills in a lot of it, but I still think it's a confidence builder, and it's such a great place to network. Okay. Such a great place to network. So yes, Vicky, include even if you have a little bit of coursework that you, so I'm going to ask, Stephanie says, what margins did Heather recommend? I recommend not going any smaller than a 1/2 inch or a 0.5 inch margin, and not going any larger than a 1 inch margin. Good question. Oh my gosh, these are so many good questions, you guys. We're going to wrap up in just a second. I'm going to take a couple more. Let's see. Courtney says, can you take things from your LinkedIn profile to help with writing an objective technical skills section? Yes, totally. So Courtney, how I actually do this when I work with clients, we actually write the resume first, and then we go to LinkedIn and we build out the profile and the cover letter. So I actually take stuff from the resume and the cover letter and pop it into the LinkedIn profile. And I don't copy and paste. Again, if you guys have ever seen any of my live streams, I have a very specific way that I do things when it comes to writing that profile. But you can take, if I did actually meet with someone a while back, a couple weeks ago, I can't remember when. And he had done a really good job of building out the profile, but then the resume didn't match up. It like was a pretty lousy resume. And I'm like, why is your profile so good and your resume's not? So in that case, yes, take some of that stuff from the profile and put it onto your resume. Sue, hello. So glad that Sue is here. What do I do if my quantifiable accomplishments don't apply to the job / posting or position? So here's the thing, and this is going to be the case for everyone. Not every single thing you do is going to match up perfectly with your dream job or with that new position you're applying for. It's ideal if it does, but if it doesn't, that's okay. You can still add, anytime you can add quantifiable accomplishments in there, leading teams, managing money, decreasing costs, increasing productivity, any of that, that's still a bonus. So I would say, Sue, depending on what other information is on your resume, I would say make sure that it's tailored as much as you can, but don't be afraid to include some things that might not totally relate, but that still show that you have results, especially if it's quantifiable. Totally get that on there. Okay, Jen has a couple of questions. Let me go ahead, Jen. Let's see. You said, should I put on my resume that I worked at 20 years ago but haven't since? It's a job I'd like to get back into. So if you have the experience in there, Jen, this is where a professional highlight section would really do well for you, because you have the experience was 20 years ago, and you can take like one of those items and pop it up into the highlight section. And you don't have to say this was 20 years ago unless they ask about it in an interview, but you could talk more about that, at the top of your resume to show that you have some experience. I hope that answered your question. I know that's kind of like a broad answer to that one. Okay, Beth says, I have a PDF format on LinkedIn. Is that good, or should it be Word? Okay, first of all, Beth, when you say you have a PDF format, does that mean that your resume is uploaded to your LinkedIn profile? And if so, I would not upload your resume to your profile. So I would take it off. What you'll do if you are applying for jobs using LinkedIn, this is why having an optimized profile is so valuable, is that you'll have, like, LinkedIn uses what's on your profile. So you don't really even need, I wouldn't recommend having any resume there. Okay. So that's my answer to that question, Beth. Let's see. Okay, I love this screen name. Angry Midget says, what would you suggest for someone changing careers into an entry-level job with no experience, such as moving from executive chief into the cybersecurity field? I guess I would want to know what, like, the reason for the switch first of all. And then anytime we talk about career changes or switching careers or transitions, even if it's a temporary move, you always have to think about the new position you're going into, and you really have to analyze what skills do they need, or what skills do I need to qualify for that position? And you want to pull out things you've done in the past that relate, but then you also need to evaluate what skills do I need to go get new skills? Like, is it a small course, continuing education, professional development, whatever that is? You now need to really think about, how am I going to show that on my resume, and what new skills do I need to go into? So again, focus on what you've done in the past that relates to the position. Awesome. Okay, good. You guys had so many amazing questions. I'm so glad that I got to spend time with you guys today reviewing resumes. This is one of my favorite live stream sessions to do because I love resumes. I know that sounds funny, but it's true. I do really like to look at resumes. If you've not yet grabbed the toolkit, make sure you grab it. This is our last flash sale for the year. In fact, we don't have another flash sale planned yet into the new year. So if you are wanting to save yourself time, energy, frustration, effort, go back and listen to all the testimonials that I shared earlier about individuals that are using these resources and these tools and seeing results quickly. It's such a great way to spend some time just getting your resources ready, getting them out there. And again, my number one tip is always use your network. So again, if you guys are listening to this as on a replay, make sure any questions you have, get them in the comments below. I'll try to get to those a little bit later today. And again, thank you guys so much. Thanks, Tori. I love you, girl. You are amazing. Tori is in the chat again. She's the one that has moderated this entire live stream. I could not do this without her. So thanks, you guys, and we will be in touch shortly.